That one's 9 seconds. Are they going to get? Okay. 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 Right. Good evening. We'll call the meeting to order. If you'd all please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. And Sean, will you please call roll?
Deputy Mayor Baggett?
Here.
Councilmember Brown?
Excused?
Councilmember DeCoursey?
Excused.
Councilmember Holman?
Here.
Councilmember Pelosa?
Here.
Councilmember Trout-Manuel? Here. Councilmember Wells?
Here.
Okay, we are going to go into proclamations, so I will move over to the podium. All right, we have 4 different proclamations this evening. The first one is going to be for DECA Month from Auburn High School. I think we have Janet Tarsi, Diego Izquierdo, and Carla Cardenas. Come on up. Are we missing Janet? Oh, you're taking, okay. Well, all right then. All right, so we have a proclamation this evening for DECA Month. Excuse me. Whereas November 2018 has been designated DECA Month, and whereas the mission of DECA is to prepare emerging leaders and entrepreneurs in marketing, finance, hospitality, and management, and whereas DECA's guiding principles are designed to explain how DECA fulfills their mission, and whereas DECA enhances the co-curricular education of members through a comprehensive learning program that integrates into classroom instruction, applies learning, connects to business, and promotes competition. And whereas DECA's activities assist in the development of academically prepared, community-oriented, professionally responsible, experienced leaders. And now, therefore, I, Nancy Backus, Mayor of the City of Auburn, Washington, do hereby proclaim November 2018 as DECA Month and encourage all students and citizens in the City of Auburn to become familiar with the services and benefits offered by the Auburn High School DECA chapter and to support and participate in these programs to prepare them for college and professional careers. Dated this 19th day of November 2018. And I will give this to you, Carla.
Thank you.
And I would assume that both of you would like to say a few words. You look surprised, Diego. Come on.
Yeah, Diego, come on.
What?
Come on, Diego.
If you want to talk a little bit about DECA Month and what you do at Auburn High School with DECA Month. I know you can do it.
I guess I'll talk a little bit about the program. It's definitely been a program that has helped a lot of students, and like both me and Carla, it's definitely helped us out at both the locations that we work at. Being able to have a managing position at just 17, 18 years old, so it definitely has had a positive impact in our lives, and I know it has had a positive impact in the lives of other students as well. So, yeah.
And does DECA still stand for?
No, now it doesn't stand for anything. It's just DECA, yeah.
Okay. Do you know what it used to stand for?
Distributive Education Clubs of America.
Very good.
Yes.
That's what it stood for when I was in DECA. Ancient times.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You didn't have to agree so quickly, did you?
I just don't know what to say.
Carla, did you have anything that you wanted to say?
No, I think you
No,
covered
Diego
it.
did. Nothing to follow that, right? Well, if you would go over and accept the appreciation of council for all that you do in DECA and at Auburn High School. Nicely done. And next, well, you might as well come on back up. Global Entrepreneurship Week.
We're back.
You're back. All right, this one, we had DECA month, and now we have Global Entrepreneurship Week. Whereas the Auburn High School DECA chapter, an affiliate of the National Marketing Education Program, is a national student organization dedicated to the training, education, and improvement of young people. And whereas the Auburn High School DECA Club desires to participate in an important civic project that will provide club members with opportunities to demonstrate leadership skills, personal and group responsibility, and civic consciousness, as well as contribute to the improvement of their community. And whereas small businesses employ 48% of the employees in the private sector in the United States, and whereas small businesses currently employ more than half of the country's workforce and account for 46% of the private sector's economic output. And whereas in Auburn there are approximately 1,500 small entrepreneurial businesses in which each business has an average of 7 to 10 workers, overall employing approximately 10,500. Now, therefore, I, Nancy Backus, Mayor of the City of Auburn, Washington, do hereby proclaim November 11th through the 17th, 2018 as Global Entrepreneurship Week and encourage all students and citizens of the City of Auburn to join the Auburn High School DECA chapter in their campaign to inform others about the opportunities of entrepreneurship, dated this 19th day of November 2018. Carla, I bet you get to speak this time, huh? Diego's not going to let you get away.
Okay, so Diego talked a little bit about his experience with DECA, and I think mine is very similar. I used to be very shy. I probably, 4 years ago, I wouldn't be able to stand up here and just casually give this little talk about DECA. It's really expanded my skills with other people. Just having a conversation with a business professional, I could never do that. So I thank DECA for a lot of skills I developed over the last 4 years.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I won't make you go back through again.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for being such active students at your high school. Next, we have Entrepreneurship Week for Auburn Mountain View High School. Chantel Harms, Andrea Geaton, and Emily Geaton. Did I say that right? Guyton. Sorry about that. And is Chantel?
She couldn't be here today.
Okay.
So just us two.
All right. Whereas the Auburn Mountain View High School DECA chapter, an affiliate of the National Marketing Education Program, is a national student organization dedicated to the training, education, and improvement of young people. And whereas the Auburn Mountain View High School DECA Club desires to participate in an important civic project that will provide club members with opportunities to demonstrate leadership skills, personal and group responsibility, and civic consciousness, as well as contribute to the improvement of their community. And whereas small businesses employ 48% of the employees in the private sector in the United States, and whereas small businesses currently employ more than half of the country's workforce and account for 46% of the private sector's economic output. And whereas in Auburn there are approximately 1,500 small entrepreneurial businesses in which each business has an average of 7 to 10 workers, overall employing approximately 10,500 people. Now, therefore, I, Nancy Backus, Mayor of the City of Auburn, Washington, do hereby proclaim November 19th through the 23rd, 2018, as Entrepreneurship Week and encourage all students and citizens of the City of Auburn to join the Auburn Mountain View High School DECA chapter in their campaign to inform others about opportunities of entrepreneurship, dated this 19th day of November, 2018. I will present that to you, and likewise, I'm going to assume that at least one of you is going to want to talk about this. All right.
We'd first like to start off by saying thank you to Mayor Backus and the Auburn City Council for having us here today. And our goal for this proclamation is to kind of go to the younger kids and elementary schools to kind of teach younger kids on why you should start entrepreneurship and a small business at a younger age and why it's a good thing.
Excellent. Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Nope. All right. Well, if you would go forward and accept the appreciation of our City Council for your work at Auburn Mountain View. And now we have Small Business Saturday, and we have Brittany Carlson from the Auburn Downtown Association. Hello. Hello. Good. Thanks for joining us tonight. All right, here we go. Whereas we celebrate our local small businesses and the contributions they make to our local economy and community, according to the United States Small Business Administration, there are currently 28.8 million small businesses in the United States. They represent 99.7% of all businesses with employees, are responsible for 63% of net new jobs created over the past 20 years. And whereas small businesses employ 48% of the employees in the private sector in the United States, whereas on average 33% of consumers' holiday shopping will be done at small, independently owned retailers and restaurants. We want to try and increase that number. Whereas 91% of consumers in the United States agree that small businesses are critical to the overall economic health of the United States. And whereas 76% of consumers in the United States agree that it is important for people to support the small businesses that they value in their community. And whereas the City of Auburn supports our local businesses that create jobs, boost our local economy, and preserve our neighborhoods. And whereas advocacy groups as well as public and private organizations across the country have endorsed the Saturday after Thanksgiving as Small Business Saturday. Now therefore, I, Nancy Backus, Mayor of the City of Auburn, Washington, do hereby proclaim November 25th, 2018 as Small Business Saturday and urge the residents of our community and communities across the country to support small businesses and merchants on Small Business Saturday and throughout the year. Dated this 19th day of November, 2018. Brittany, thank you for being one of those small business owners. And did you have anything that you'd like to say?
Yeah, I think I have a thing or two to learn from these guys because I'm like way more nervous than you guys. But thank you to the mayor and the council for having me today to represent small businesses of Auburn. It's been a true honor and privilege to be part of this really supportive, amazing community. I hope that my fellow small business owners recognize all their individual work is paying off and it is creating a better Auburn for us all. Thank you for your support of the current and future small businesses, maybe from some of them, on Small Business Saturday and every day here in Auburn. We have a bright road ahead of us, and I think if we continue to work together, we're going to make a greater Auburn for us all to call home. So, thank you.
Very nice.
Thank
and Brittany,
you.
if you would please go forward and accept your appreciation of council. So yes, I encourage everyone to do more than 33% of their shopping at small businesses this weekend. All right, thank you very much. All right, we have no appointments this evening. I don't believe we have any agenda modifications. And we have no public hearings, so we will move to audience participation. This is a place on the agenda where the public is invited to speak to the City Council on any issue. Those wishing to speak are reminded to sign in on the form provided, and please limit comments to 3 minutes. Is there anyone that would like to speak? Please come forward.
My name is Ken Holden. I live at 3611 I Street Northeast, Unit 209. It's a River Estates senior citizen. I am a senior citizen. I graduated from Kent Meridian proudly.
We won't hold that against
proudly,
you.
back when there were still Roman numerals on the year you graduated. So, and we held the Taylor Trophy for quite a while. I'm very proud of that.
Where is it now?
I have no idea. Anyhow, I came a serious issue on our corner there of I Street and 37th. We have a four-way stop where our entryway into the River Estates. Last Wednesday we had a serious accident, and I realize there are many accidents in the city, but I do also realize that the squeaky wheel gets the grease. And so I want to ask that the city could look into possibly, because they did a study before about putting either a blinking light or put those flashing lights around the stop sign or something, because each one of us is about 530 residents in the park, And I think probably each one of us at one time or another have had to step on our brakes to keep somebody from coming through the intersection and hitting us. And so it's my desire, it's my hope that the city would look into that before somebody gets killed, because that will eventually happen, and none of us want to see that happen. So that's really all I have tonight.
Thank you very much. And I know our Public Works Director was listening to your comments, and we'll be in touch. All right, is there anyone else that would like to speak?
Yes, my name is Bob Zimmerman from 33029 46th Place South. Here we are, just about to enter 2019, and if 10 years ago, well, not 10 years ago, it'll be almost 9 years ago now, when I first started contacting the city about the issues I've been raising, somebody would have told me that I would be an outspoken advocate for code enforcement, for seismic standards, and fire code at the end of the decade. I'd have told them they were crazy. I thought when I brought that up, well, they said that they could build this thing without any kind of a footing or foundation. I thought that was just, you know, just a silly little mistake they made. Surely they'd get it fixed. Well, here I am today, and now we've added fire code to it. Here recently I got a rejection on propane pooling out there. You know, and I'm thinking, you know, a year ago I was trying to figure out that certainly that kind of hazardous atmosphere and stuff had to be somewhere in some code beside the electrical code. You know, that I spent, what, almost half a century doing electrical and making it safe, and we've got, geez, what, maybe close to 1 billion people in North America and Europe that follow that kind of code and standard. And you almost never hear of anybody being electrocuted. And when you have a fire, it's usually a misuse or a damaged thing or something that's worn out. It's not a code violation. So these codes serve us very well. Now, when I was last year, when I was starting on this propane thing, I was at Civics Academy thinking there's got to be a way to fix this stuff. Apparently there's not in Auburn. But anyway, I asked the fellow that was doing emergency preparedness. I asked him, well, now, like when first responders and emergency preparedness people see things that are codes that are maybe not being fully or properly enforced, or hazardous situations like what I was trying to figure out then, that they would come to the city or the code making bodies, and they would bring these issues up and you know, and get these kind of corrections made. And he's kind of paused, and Mr. Tate was Mr. Snyder was sitting there. He was the director at the time, sitting back there. He kind of looked back towards him for some guidance, I guess. And and he just said, well, we have to be careful what we say in public about those sort of things. And I thought, for crying out loud, you got to be careful about what you say in public about things that can cost people the loss of property and injury and loss of life, and you got to be careful. You got to be kidding me. I see my time's up. I'll see you in a couple of weeks. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
Hi, my name's Waylon Menzia, 719 R Street Northeast, and I love coming to the meetings. They interest me, and I was just coming to say thanks for all the city council and the mayor does for the city and keeps it running the best way possible. There's never enough thanks to give. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? All right. Thank you, Waylon. All right, we will move on to the council ad hoc committee reports. In the absence of Councilmember Brown, Councilmember Holman, I believe you'll be giving the finance report this evening.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, Larry and I reviewed the claims vouchers and payroll vouchers electronically. and had a telephone discussion. And the following is we reviewed 159 claims vouchers and 4 wire transfers from the voucher report dated November 19th for a total amount of $7,601,000. All claims were reviewed and appeared to be reasonable and in good order. Payroll vouchers. Payroll vouchers from November 1st to November 14th were reviewed. There were 17 checks, 538 direct deposits, and 8 associated electronic funds transfers for tax, retirement, etc. The total of all payroll expenditures was $2,199,000. Finance Committee recommends approval.
Thank you. All right, and I don't believe the ad hoc committee on roads is still in existence, so we will move on to the consent agenda. All matters listed on the consent agenda are considered by the City Council to be routine and will be enacted by one motion in the form listed. Do we have a motion? Deputy Mayor Baggett.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Councilmember Trout Manuel.
I second
that. You've got your microphone on now. Do you want to say it?
It's on.
No, now it's on.
Okay, I second that, Mayor.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Baggett.
Thank you, Your Honor. We have 7 items on the consent agenda tonight. We have the minutes of the February 13th, February 27th, March 27th, and October 22nd council study session, and the minutes of the November 5th, 2018 regular council meeting. We have the claims vouchers and payroll vouchers noted by Councilmember Holman, and the artwork donation is one item on there. Item E, we have a call for the public hearing on our 2019-2020 preliminary biennial budget. And item G is the Public Works Project CP 1521, which is the City Council to approve the change order number 1, not to exceed $575,000.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Councilmember Pelosi.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to query the change order number 1 for $575,000 for 15th Street Northeast Northwest Preservation. That seems, since I've been on the council, that seems like that's the biggest change order number 1 that I have witnessed to my knowledge.
It is a significant one.
I did read the agenda bill approval form, and I did see that the work did contain a heck of a lot of work, the project. 30 curb ramps, ADA standards, traffic signal poles, et cetera. So can you, how, did we miss the mark? Did our staff miss the mark on their first glance at this project?
So no, they did not miss the mark on that. And what I'm actually going to do is have Kim Trong, who is our project manager for that, come up and speak to what the reason for the change order is.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, so I'm Kim Trong, project manager for the CP 1521 project. Thank you for the question. So yes, it is a large number, and it's due to a number of different reasons. And as you're aware, 15th Street, Northwest, Northeast, and also along the Harvey Road corridor is a very highly used corridor. There are over 30,000 vehicles along with trucks and transits. So traffic control in that area is very important components. And so during the union strike and the natural gas explosions in Canada that occurred that kind of halted the construction process there. So during that time, we have to maintain traffic control there in order to provide a safe and operable roadway during that several weeks. And once the strike is over and the natural gas explosion is available again, the contractor have to provide multiple crews to be working in multiple locations in order to speed up the process and get the work done before the wet season comes. And so, so during that times, there were multiple, especially traffic control laborers were used. And then also another reason for the change order is there are large areas of payments that during design we are not anticipating having to repair. But during construction, when we were grinding down the road, a lot of those pavement area failed. And so which mean we had to replace those area. So unfortunately that added to the cost. And also cement concrete. There, over the year, the 15th Street corridor has been overlaid, and in some area, it was overlaid over a portion of the curb and gutter, the gutter portion of the curb and gutter, and therefore, when we go and grind it, there's no way for us to avoid damaging those curbs, so we had to end up replacing a lot of those curbs that we are not anticipating. And there's also a small amount that that we probably did underestimate the traffic control labor hours. And that is because traffic control are really hard to estimate during design because we are really assuming what the contractor's construction method would be, and we don't know what that method would be until we're in construction. And unfortunately, due to all the different factors, it kind of lead to the extra costs.
How much contingency did you put into this project?
There is, if you look in the budget status sheet, there's $106,000 in contingency that was authorized for this project.
Knowing what you've seen on 15th, and if you were to look at a contingency again, it would probably be more than $136,000.
Possibly, yes, due to the high volume, but at that time it was at, I believe, 5% of the contract price, which is what we're allowed.
You may want to consider in the future this size of a program to throw in some more contingency.
So there were an awful lot of the perfect storm, if you will, issues that came up during this project. The strike, some of the work that was not anticipated, the number of those that are the flaggers, if you will, a lot of things that weren't anticipated in a typical project, but we can certainly look at that.
I would also add that those are things that could not have been anticipated at the time of bid to affect the bid prices and the quantities. So in order to get this project done so that we were paved and not left with a ground down surface through the winter months, we needed to accelerate the construction. And so that is the primary driver behind the increase in cost.
I do have to say that it's a beautiful project. I used it today, and I think it's totally complete now, isn't it?
The majority of it is, except for we are waiting for traffic signal poles to come in order to replace the 3 traffic signal poles and just some cleanup work.
But everything is beautiful, and our citizens and non-citizens that use that road should be very appreciative of the city of Auburn and federal money. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilmember Wells.
I already shared the thing with it. It's absolutely beautiful. I'm surprised that Bill didn't ask for you to move some of that over to 4th Street. But this is maybe a legal question. So they were on strike for a significant period of time, so we would require more flaggers. do we pay for flaggers, or is flaggers part of the contract? You know, what exactly did the strike, and what did the company cover, and what falls to us?
So I'll actually take that one. So under the contract, this is outside the contractor's control, and so it's not necessarily their fault and therefore their cost to assume. In order for us to complete so if you recall, when they went on strike, we had already ground down the pavement. We were getting ready to pave it, and then they went on strike for approximately 3 weeks. And so that put us in a time point where we really needed to accelerate the construction to get that pavement back down. Otherwise, we would be dealing with puddling and flooding on that roadway throughout the winter months, because basically with a ground down pavement, you're not able to get that drainage to the catch basins. So there was some criticalness to the timing that we asked the contractor to accelerate to get the work done.
Well, I think that I'm glad that it's finished. It's incredible. Outside of their control, striking employees, I always thought outside of control was more godlike things. I'm surprised that we have to pick up some of the costs for the striking.
Under the contract language, the list of things that are outside the contractor's control includes natural disasters, man-made disasters, acts of war, labor unrest. Those are all things that are spelled out in standard WashDOT contracts.
Okay,
so this
thank
was
you.
something that's outside their control.
Okay, thank you. It's beautiful.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you, John. All those in favor of the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. Passes. All right, we have no unfinished business, no new business, so we will move on to ordinances. Mr. City Attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance number 6688, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Auburn, Washington, related to land use regulation, creating a new definition for youth community support facilities as a permitted use in the C1 Light Commercial Zoning District, adding an additional specific land use standard for the siting of youth community support facilities, and amending Chapter 1804, Table 18.23.030, and Section 18.23.030, and Section 18.57.040 of the City Code.
Thank you. Do we have a motion? Deputy Mayor Baggett.
I move to approve.
Oh, your mic, it's not on.
I move to approve ordinance number 6688.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Councilmember Pelosa.
I second.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Baggett.
Thank you, Your Honor. At our October 8th, 2018 study session, we had the staff present to our city council the zoning code definition as required, or asked or requested, I should say, by the Nexus Youth and Families. Basically, we were looking for removal of age restrictions and things of that nature, but also we're looking to have this zoning definition changed so that they're zoned C1 instead of R20. And basically, this will read basically a youth community support facility. This will allow us to have Nexus, when they want to expand that facility at that location, it'll be in the proper zone.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Councilmember Trout Manuel.
On Exhibit 1, I wasn't here to hear the presentation, so I read over this. There's a part down towards the end of the page. It's got housing for no more than 2 years. Where do these youth go after their limit expires? Should they be already, I'm not sure what all you guys are going to, what all they're going to do to get them ready to be out after 2 years.
Well, I think that's what the format for transitional housing is to provide a structure and environment to prepare young adults for a more independent living status. So that is the mission of Nexus in this case, but is to prepare folks for that and then help them into that independent lifestyle.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Councilmember Wales.
Can you explain to me the ramifications of this as it relates to the Valley Cities program?
So Valley Cities, their program has a little different emphasis. So if council were to adopt this ordinance, it has no ramifications on Valley Cities.
Okay.
I guess to answer that real directly, Valley Cities operates under a different definition in the city code and under a different zoning designation. So that is more geared towards adult services and not so much towards youth services.
Yes.
Thank you. One of my concerns is making it easier to put some of these high needs facilities close to residential areas and schools. So how is this going to affect, is this going to make it easier for us to put youth services for high impact people close to our schools and our neighborhoods?
I don't know if it makes it easier or harder to when it comes to that, where they're situated relative to residential areas. One thing that this will do is it'll make the Nexus facility operate under a definition, and it currently doesn't operate under any definition. And what does that mean? Well, it means that we struggle anytime Nexus wants to do something with the facility because it's not defined in any way. So we have no real way of managing the types of requests that Nexus has when they come in and submit a permit application from the most minor activity to even a significant activity. But I don't see this as enabling, I guess, other facilities to locate closer to residential areas. I don't see that being easier or harder as a result of this ordinance. It creates a category for us to consider a use within a commercial zone.
Okay, thank you. That's what, that's what I wanted to hear. It gives us a vehicle to consider
Yeah.
it. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen. Thank you very
Right.
much. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of ordinance number 6688, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. Passes.
Ordinance number 6701, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Auburn, Washington, approving the rezone of parcel number 192-105-937 from R7 Residential Zone 7 dwelling units per acre to P1 Public Use District.
Thank you. Do we have a motion? Deputy Mayor Baggett.
I move to approve ordinance number 6701.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Councilmember Holman.
I second.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Baggett.
Thank you. This basically is a result of a hearing examiner public meeting that was held on October 17th of this year. And basically what it is you have a parcel that is located adjacent to the existing Pioneer Elementary School. And the changing of this parcel, which is a public use district, will help ensure development and permitting predictability for that school.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments? Councilmember Pelosi.
Thank you, Mayor. The R7 code residential, is that 4 dwellings per acre, or is it gone to 5?
R7 is 7 dwelling units per acre.
7?
Yeah.
Well, what is 4 then? Or 4 or 5? There's
We have R5, which is 5 dwelling units per acre, R7, R10, and then there's R20.
Wasn't there an R4 at one time?
There was,
Okay.
and that was changed, but that was probably about 2009 or so that it changed over to R5.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Wells.
Thank you. So we're going to, isn't there currently a church there?
Yes,
And we want to move it, make it a P1 public use district.
correct.
Okay, is that so that, who owns that piece of property? The school district?
School district does, yes.
so they could put a preschool there or something to that effect, and that would be public use?
They could, yeah, I mean, they could expand to allow something that is, you know, in conjunction with Pioneer Elementary School,
Okay,
sure.
Great, thank you. Also on the map, what are the 3 white blocks?
Yeah, it's another zoning designation, but I don't know which one it is off the top of my head.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? None. All those in favor of ordinance number 6701, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. Passes.
Ordinance number 6702, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Auburn, Washington, establishing the levy for regular property taxes by the City of Auburn for collection in 2019 for general city operational purposes in the amount of $22,007,247 and no cents.
Thank you. Do we have a motion? Councilmember Holman.
I move for the adoption of ordinance number 6702.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Deputy Mayor Baggett.
I'll second that, Your Honor.
Thank you. Councilmember Holman.
This is establishes the 2019 property tax levy based upon the preliminary information we get from the assessor's office.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of ordinance number 6702, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. Passes.
Ordinance number 6704, ordinance of the City Council of the City of Auburn, Washington, amending sections 13.20.010, 13.20.040, 13.20.080, 13.20.090, 13.20.095, 13.20.120, 13.20.182, 13.20.200, and 13.20.230 of the Auburn City Code relating to maintenance and repair responsibilities for public and private portions of the sewer collection system and removing inapplicable code requirements.
Thank you. Did you want to repeat any of that? Or do we have a motion?
In hindsight, I would like to say modifying Chapter 13.20.
Do we have a motion? Councilmember Pelosi.
Thank you, Mayor. I recommend adoption of ordinance 6704.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Councilmember Holman.
I second.
Thank you. Councilmember Pelosi.
Okay, this is amending several sections of Auburn City Code relating to maintenance and repair responsibilities for public and private portions of the sewage collection system and removing inapplicable code requirements, or therefore a little language cleanup.
All right. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of ordinance number 6704, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. Passes.
Ordinance number 6705, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Auburn, Washington, amending Chapter 12.64A of the Auburn City Code related to public right-of-way improvements.
Thank you. Do we have a motion? Deputy Mayor Baggett.
I move to adopt ordinance number 6705.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Councilmember Holman. Oh,
I second.
thank you. Deputy Mayor Baggett.
Thank you, Your Honor. This basically revises our city code, chapter 12.64A, to change when public improvements are triggered by development activities and clarify what public improvements are required. We went over this in a council study session on November 13th. And basically what this does is this clarifies the guidelines used by the city engineer in determining whether a development makes a given public improvement necessary.
Thank you. And Mr. City Attorney, I believe you had need for comment here? To our Public Works Director, Ingrid.
Hi, yes, I would like to propose a change for one word in the draft ordinance in front of you. On page 122 of your packet, at the bottom of that page, in Chapter 1264A 020, Paragraph A. We use the word auxiliary, and it should be the word accessory for accessory dwelling unit. So it's just a clarification of what that ADU term is actually for.
Okay. So does that mean we need an amendment? All right. Councilmember Holman.
I move to amend putting in the word accessory
In place of auxiliary.
in place of auxiliary.
All right. Do we have a second? Councilmember Trout Manuel.
I second that, Mayor.
Thank you. All right. Are there any questions or comments on the amendment? Hearing none, all those in favor of the amendment changing auxiliary to accessory on section 12.64A.020, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. Passes. It's been accessorized, and now we will move to the main motion. Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor of ordinance number 6705, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. Passes.
Ordinance number 6706, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Auburn, Washington related to insufficient check fees, making those fees consistent with the city's adopted fee schedule, and amending section 6.01.210, 13.06.511, and 13.52.040 of the Auburn City Code.
Thank you. Do we have a motion? Councilmember Holman.
I move to adopt ordinance number 6706.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Deputy Mayor Baggett.
Second that, Your Honor.
Thank you. Councilmember Holman.
When staff was going through our fee schedules, they noticed that several different parts of the fee schedule had different insufficient fund fees. So dog license had one, somebody else for a bounce check in this area, utilities had another. So what this does is standardize the insufficient funds fee across, and it'll appear again in the next resolution on fee structures.
It's easy for you to say. All right. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of ordinance number 6706, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. Passes.
Resolution number 5388, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Auburn, Washington, amending the City of Auburn fee schedule to adjust for 2019 fees.
Thank you. Do we have a motion? Councilmember Holman.
Yes, I move to adopt resolution number 5388.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Councilmember Trout Manuel.
I second that, Your Honor.
Thank you. Councilmember Holman.
Yes, this is the resolution that I spoke of just a moment ago. It's a fee structure. It's checked out and revised every couple years. What we try to do is get the cost of what we're charging closely related to the cost of doing that service.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments? Councilmember Wells.
I'd like you to look at page 145 for me. Under boundary line adjustment, boundary line elimination, I'm not disputing the costs. I just kind of like a little understanding of the situations that might create those.
So a lot line elimination, as its title implies, is you're taking two pieces of property that and eliminating a lot line in between them, and it's turning into one property.
Why would you, if you have to pay that kind of money, and it runs right through the middle of your house, and you own both halves, why would you want to pay $546 to do that?
Well, because it's usually not the individual that has a lot line running through a structure already. It's a piece of property that's vacant, both pieces, and you're wanting to develop both pieces of property, and you can't, under state law, build a building across a property line. So there are times where the owner wants to eliminate the line.
So, if you want to, would there be a situation where you adjust a line and you eliminate, so you'd have to pay both?
We would do that under one application, not two.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Councilmember Trout Manuel.
I was just wondering, are we compatible to our neighboring cities? Is that how we get the adjusting?
So the fee, I'm going to assume you're asking that question with respect to development fees? Okay. There's two efforts that go on or have gone on in 2018. There's our typical fee schedule update, but also earlier in the year, there was a presentation to council on cost recovery. And as part of that cost recovery conversation, for every type of application, we did look at our neighbors, and we continue on average to be at or below what our neighbors are charging for most fees. There's exceptions here and there, but if you look at this fee resolution, you see that there's probably about 50 or 60 different types of development fees, and the vast majority of them are at or below what the surrounding communities are charging.
Okay, thank you very much.
Councilmember Wales.
Can we look at page 169, please? I thought false alarms at residents used to be $50. It's nothing here is $50. How long has it been $100? Or am I in a different city?
Are you talking about the fee for a false alarm?
Mm-hmm.
It's always been 100.
Okay.
The only thing we really modified on that was about a year after its inception is we changed it, or your body changed it to the first alarm of the life of the alarm system is the first one's free.
Yeah, okay.
Councilmember Wells.
Where in here is the fees for, or do we not work with the fire department for the false fire alarms?
Well, I would assume since they're their own taxing authority that they would they would govern that on false alarm fire alarms.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All those in favor of resolution number 5388, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. Passes. All right, we will move to mayor and council member reports. At this time, the mayor and city council may report on significant items associated with their appointed positions on federal, state, regional, and local organizations. We will begin with Deputy Mayor Baggett.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have one big one and two little ones, so bear with me, please. On Wednesday, November 14th, I attended the monthly King County Emergency Management Advisory Committee meeting in Renton, representing the City of Auburn and Sound Cities Association. Of major importance to the region was the presentation on catastrophic planning, specifically dealing with what they call micro islands. And what this means is many cities and towns within the region may become micro islands in the event of a major disaster. Elements such as bridge and highway overpass collapses, fire and police station accessibility, ingress, egress, and major transportation accesses could isolate many residents, thereby limiting their ability for evacuations or receiving life-saving aid from outside agencies or sources. Several cities within King County are currently evaluating their geographic locations and topography to assure that plans are in place to deal with such a situation or event. Auburn has not yet been identified as a city that is in this category. However, our emergency management department is considering all possible scenarios, which would include possible collapses of bridges and overpasses, things of that nature, which are in our communities in different areas, to keep our city as safe as possible in such an event. Wednesday was a busy day as I attended the ribbon cutting of the newly remodeled real estate sales offices of Windermere Realty, located on Lake Tapps Parkway. The offices were well-staffed with not only sales staff, but offices for lenders and others to assist home buyers, making it a very usable organizational structure. The organization was principally gathering food items from all those that were participating in the open house and ribbon cutting event, and for our Auburn Food Bank. And when I left, they had accumulated many shopping carts full of food to support our local food bank. On Friday, November 15th, I had the honor to welcoming the business community from various parts of our city as well as other outlying cities in the state and in other states surrounding the city or the state of Washington. And this was held over at our Auburn Event and Community Center. The event was a briefing and discussion hosted by our own Economic Development Department and the offices of the Small Business Administration. Auburn last hosted this event 4 years ago, and to add a little extra here, the Continental Breakfast was prepared by our culinary students and staff over at the Auburn High School. All in all, the meeting was a great success.
Thank you. Councilmember Pelosa.
Brace yourself, you guys.
Oh, boy.
I have no report.
What? You were on travel and you have no report.
Oh, we could only be so lucky.
I'm in the depth of preparing about a 20-page report on my trip to LA.
But it won't be a verbal 20-page report.
No.
Okay. Thank you.
What's so funny about that?
Councilmember Trout Manuel.
You know, I have to say the same thing. I went on to travel as well. I've been gone for 10 days, and National Leagues of Cities, I love going to those conferences because I come back with a suitcase, an extra suitcase with full of all this stuff that I bring back. But I did want to share a little bit about most of the workshops that I went to had to do with affordable housing and also with the homelessness and the opium addiction. So I have a lot of materials on that. And I asked the mayor if I could give each one of my council members a few pages of what is affordable housing, and I left it upstairs, Mayor. So I don't get a chance to say that, have them look at what I did. But one of our HELO group, he's a deputy mayor for Santa Monica. He scheduled a tour and took 30 of us HELO Hispanic leaders, mayors, and council members to Santa Monica by train. And we got picked up by a blue bus. They drove us around. Santa Monica is 8 square miles around, and they have over 107,000 people. What they have done is that they have formed a group called Community Court. In 1989, they decided to form a task force, and the task force is made up of attorneys, police officer, city business owners, and nonprofit, and also the faith group. And they met regularly, and they decided what was the best thing to do. So they brought back to this council that they would like to form a foundation, and the council gave them $50,000 to start this foundation. And what they started doing is going out and buying all these dilapidated homes. And they knocked them down and brought in a developer. They built apartments according to the people's income. And they took us to 4 different buildings, and they had 1,780 affordable houses up to date. Is that what they have developed since 1989? And they've built nearly 100 homes. And so they're really doing a really good job. They took us to some of the houses, and none of them have carpet. The places that we went in, they took all the carpets out. They put new appliances, paint job, new floors, new windows. And to keep the heat from coming into the apartment, they built this kind of like a little V-shape shade that you could see part of the window, but it shades it. Also, the outside, to keep it because of the moist and everything, they put another wall that has splits in the middle so the wind could go in there and it keeps the rain from going in there and rotting the paint and stuff. It was really interesting how they did this. And they said that people have a misconception on affordable housing. They have done a study and they says that the homes that they have brought into these neighborhoods, it didn't diminish the property value. In fact, it brought the property value up. And they said that people, they heard the comments of, we don't want those kinds in my neighborhood. Well, now they welcome those kinds in their neighborhood. They even built an affordable community right along the beach. And they have front beach view, and it was really beautiful. But I would like us to take a look at some of the things that they have done. They gave a page of how much it would cost a waitress to be able to afford to get in, to live now. She would have to be making $15 to $18 an hour to be able to afford a $1,000 home with a 2-bedroom. So they broke it all down according to bedrooms and the different types of careers the people are in. And it would be nice to see and compare Auburn, what ours is as well. They had a lot of information on there, so I would like to share that with everybody tomorrow. I'll put it in your boxes if I can. Okay. Then I was there during the fire. I could see the smoke from my window, and there was this just huge plume of smoke, and it started getting kind of, well, before you guys left, could you smell the smoke in LA? When I got to Disneyland, people were wearing masks. They closed down some of the rides because of the smoke. So it was very interesting to be around at that time when the fires were going. So thank you. That's my report. I'll have more to hand in later.
Thank you. And just for the record, Disneyland was part of your vacation, not part of the city.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Not part of the city.
I took an extra couple of days to take my own personal vacation and reflect. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Trout-Manuel. Councilmember Wales.
Thank you. On November 6th, the mayor and Councilmember Brown and myself were at the PAC at 9 in the morning. Our mayor is providing a lot of leadership along with Dr. Johnson from Green River and Dr.
Spiciotti
on the area of living wages. And this presentation was on CTE, which is Career and Technical Education Programs. One of the gentlemen in the crowd, Doug Hoppy, who happens to be president of the chamber, got up and said, you know, that he could guarantee some kids out there that were willing to work hard, 6-figure jobs where he paid for the training and there would be no loans at the end of 6 years. And I think it would be nice for us, Mayor, if you can, and I'm sure you can remember, you shared with us how many skilled jobs we're going to need in the future. I thought it was something like 700,000 or something. But, you know, we've got to look at providing more of a balanced opportunity to our kids. And this is what our 3 leaders were sharing with us, and staff and kids were sharing with us programs. Diego was in the film that they did on DECA. He's a natural. And it's great to see this community focusing on those kinds of activities. Thank you.
Thank you. Council, let's see, there's over 3 million jobs in the skilled trades that companies aren't able to fill in the United States currently. Councilmember Holman.
I joined my colleagues Yolanda Trout-Manuel and Councilmember Bill Pelosa at the National League of Cities City Summit in Los Angeles. And at that conference, I chair a council called First Tier Suburbs. And the council announced a recruiting program or a contest. We have been wanting to get more people to come to our meetings. So Jeff Marcel of Tip Strategies, who works as a contractor for the city of Auburn and helped us develop an economic strategic plan, and is still working for us, volunteered to do a free economic development assessment for the city or region that applied to first tier suburbs, and he'll go to their city and do this one-day assessment to kind of get them onto the track for possibly a strategic plan like we have. And it was extremely well attended. If you go to the National League of Cities website now, you'll see a blog and notices of this contest that we're having. So my fellow city electeds from other cities, please apply. We'd love to have you join us. Then on Wednesday, November 14th, I attended the Sound Cities Association Public Issues Committee, affectionately referred to as PIC. We went over the SCA's 2019 legislative agenda, and it was approved for forwarding to the SCA Board of Directors. Topics on the legislative agenda include tools for cities to address critical local problems, as in address the affordable housing and homelessness crisis, invest in transportation infrastructure and mobility, continue streamlined sales tax mitigation, which is a big one for our budget, and the equitable funding of Basic Law Enforcement Academy and Corrections Officer Academy. And then continue funding cost-effective programs like MSRC and the Public Works Assistance Program. And then meet the state's commitment to share revenue back with the cities from which those funds were initially collected to provide vital services to our shared constituents. So if they take the money out of our city, we'd like to at least see some of it come back from the state. A regional affordable housing task force action plan was presented, and the plan will be voted on next month. And we as a council will probably review that at a study session in the near future. And then we got an update on the homelessness situation, and of where Renton City Council member Ed Prince and Mayor Backus sit on this. And there was strong consensus amongst the cities in attendance that SCA, the Sound Cities Association, must have an equal and controlling voice on any committee with King County and the city of Seattle. It can't just be Seattle and King County. We as Sound Cities have to have an equal voice because, again, the money comes from us. Then on Friday, November 16th, I attended and I'm a member of the Forensics Investigation Council. We affectionately call that one FIC. So we have PIC and then followed by FIC. Don Person, City Council member of Renton, and I both sit on this, and we will both be stepping down at the end of next year. It takes the governor about a year to appoint someone to this committee. So I'm hoping that we can get someone to apply for the Forensics Investigation Council, particularly someone with a background in bench science or law enforcement or legal, be one of the criteria, and from one of the Sound Cities or Association of Washington Cities. So I wish Claude were here because need him to start recruiting. Then advances in DNA analysis are increasing, but this also increases the requests for DNA case analysis. The state lab is now solving anywhere between 20 and 30 cases a month, cold cases, some 6, 7, 8 years old, because of the advances in DNA analysis. So the crime lab will be asking from the state legislature for $5.7 million in this next year's budget increase to fund a high throughput lab in Vancouver, Washington, where they do the majority of the fast high throughput analysis, DNA analysis, and 10 more scientists and staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Pelosi? Sure.
Councilmember Holman, what about, I was reading the Times recently, sexual assault backlog.
Yes.
Can you talk that? Why
Yes, sir.
why they're not getting those cleared up?
They're farming. They develop in. They triage the sexual assault kits into 3 levels. The highest priority is given to ongoing cases, like you have a serial rapist out there, and you have to nail that person as quickly as possible. High priority, jumps right to the front of the line. Then you have sexual assault kit 3, which may be a case that's 10 or 15 years old. We know there's been advances in DNA. We may have had the suspect already has been arrested and is serving time. There's very little need to process that kit quickly. And the reason that they have a backlog is to do proper DNA analysis takes time. That's why they want to build a high throughput lab where they can do, one scientist can do about 30 tests a month, about 1 a day. And so they need more scientists, more equipment that can handle broader variety of test subjects or samples. And so the legislature has given the crime lab money to hire outside labs to do the sexual assault kit 3. And then as our labs come up, hopefully at some point in time, the backlog will be reduced and we'll be able to do cases as they are presented to the lab. But the technology has gotten so sophisticated that they can do touch DNA. You touch something, I could get the DNA off of that fingerprint I just left on the screen of my phone. So the gold standard used to be a fingerprint, and now the gold standard is the DNA. An 8-year-old rape homicide was solved just last month, and the suspect is going to trial as we speak up in Whatcom County, based on he touched a Coke can. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything more?
Well, that's probably more than enough.
All right, a few items. Excuse me. On Tuesday, November 6th, I attended the Veterans Day luncheon at the Senior Center where we honored our veterans. It was a packed room with veterans from all 5 of the branches of the military. It's always a wonderful time to be able to celebrate their accomplishments, thank them for their service to our country, and just enjoy time together. On Wednesday, and Councilmember Pelosi, we missed you this year. You're usually there.
I was just mentioning, add to your report, National League of Cities didn't even mention veterans at any of the general sessions?
Well, I'm surprised that you didn't make a point of that.
I know someone on the
being
board.
on the board, I'm surprised you didn't make a big deal out of that.
I should have.
All right. Also on Wednesday the 7th, I was asked to speak on a panel for the Fire Chiefs Conference that was held down in Lacey. And I was on a panel with a fire commissioner from Spokane Valley as well as a city manager from Lacey to talk about expectations of a board for the fire chiefs and what fire chiefs should expect from a board or a commission. And it was interesting to hear that there really aren't that many differences between a board of commissioners or the board of governance that we have for Valley Regional Fire Authority, and how the day-to-day operations of a fire agency should be left to the fire chief or the chief administrator as opposed to the board. Similar to council, a board would do policy and budget, and the administrator would take on the day-to-day operation. So it was nice to be validated in that regard, that that's what we do at Valley Regional Fire Authority. On Saturday the 10th, we missed those council members who were at National League of Cities. We had the 53rd Veterans Day Parade, and this year we were honoring our Vietnam veterans. We had 199, I believe, or 200 entrants into the parade, and as always, it's a wonderful time to be able to honor our veterans for their service to our country. And right after the parade was over, we had the Veterans Day Luncheon over at Merrill Gardens to honor the recipients of this year's Veterans Administration Awards. This year, Alfie was not there. So we missed Alfie, but I'm sure she was doing good work elsewhere. But we were still able to honor those who are doing volunteer work for our veterans. And in fact, one is the new nonprofit that we have down on Main Street, Q Missions, received an award for their work in helping veterans in regard to suicide prevention. So we want to thank them for their service to their fellow veterans. On Wednesday the 14th, as has been mentioned, we are working on homelessness issues regionally, and the discussion has turned to what does a regional governance structure look like. And so we met down at Seattle City Hall. Mayor Durkin, King County Executive Constantine, Council President Ed Prince from Renton, and myself were the elected officials, along with some of the funders and those with lived experience, talking about what does this regional governance look like. And Councilmember Holman, I agree, we are going to make sure that those 38 cities outside of Seattle have a voice in this organization going forward. And so that's why we've been spending a lot of time in Seattle, early morning meetings, to ensure that the voices are heard. On Friday the 16th, I, 7 a.m., attended the All Home Board special session with some of the consultants that have been hired to talk about this governance model as well, and what All Home, the continuum of care representative for HUD funding, what our continued role will be in this new governance model going forward. And later in the day, attended the Northwest University School of Police Staff and Command, where we had two graduates from the Auburn Police Department. We had Sergeant Tyler Christian and Commander Jamie Douglas, who had completed the 10-week course and were graduates of this academy. It is a strenuous course load, and we are very, very proud of our graduates. And thanks to Chief Pearson for providing the transportation and for providing the support for our officers in order to continue with their education. On Saturday the 17th, it was right here in City Hall, we had the 50th graduating class for CERT, our Community Emergency Response Team. And so 50 classes have gone through that. We have over 800 trained volunteers now. Hopefully we never have to use them, but in case of an emergency, we have a good number of city residents who are able to help out in an emergency. And we also graduated on Thursday night our third Civics Academy. And that is a 1 night a week, 12-week course. And each one of our departments has the opportunity to share exactly what we do within the city, why we do things the way we do them. I believe Public Works provides money for them to be able to play money, City of Auburn money, to be able to determine how they should spend it. Is that correct, Ingrid? On all of the different projects. So similar to the work that the council does, having to identify how to spend the limited funding that we have on the many needs within the city. So congratulations to our graduates of the Civics Academy, and again, thanks to all of the departments for taking part in that, as well as Valley Regional Fire Authority. And then I just wanted to, yes, we have one of our graduates out in the audience tonight. And I just wanted to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. We need to do more of the thanks and more of the giving in our community. And I believe this is a great community to do that work. And so I wish for everyone enough on your plate, enough love, enough of money to do the things that you need to do, and enough support from your community. So thank you very much. Mr. City Attorney, do we have need for an executive or closed session this evening? In that case, we are adjourned. Thank you.